Welcome back, one and all, to the Always Bayern Chelsea show, and just like that, Bayern Munich's Bundesliga campaign is done. 4-0 over Hoffenheim today, and just like that, Thomas Muller's storied Bundesliga career is done. Man, what a day. Bayern Munich did a great job today to put a bow on this Bundesliga season, which was a very, very impressive campaign under first-year head coach Vincent Kompany. I mentioned this last week. I did a full Bundesliga Champions episode, so go ahead, check that one out, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is a Always Bayern Chelsea video episode. Right now it's just me. I'm going to react to this match, maybe talk a little bit more about the season as a whole. Soon I will be dropping a full Bayern Munich season recap for Bundesliga, Champions League, Pokal, everything. And if you're a Chelsea fan, stick with us because we will get some Chelsea reactions too to their huge 1-0 late victory over Manchester United. That was a fun, it was kind of a shitty match for a bit, but it was a fun win for Chelsea, I should say. I got to figure out exactly what's going on with Jim's schedule, so maybe we'll put him in this episode. Maybe we will make a separate one for that. But lots to talk about this weekend for sure. Bayern Munich were already Bundesliga champions, but this was still a nice match to end the season. There was plenty of, I guess you could call it controversy, maybe, depending on who you are. FC Hollywood was at it again in the news because some Bayern Munich players took a trip to Ibiza after the celebrations last week, so everybody was up in arms about that because the season's not officially over. My overall opinion on it is, who cares? They're grown men. They won the league and they came back and they were professional enough to put up a good performance today. So no harm, no foul in my opinion, but some people kind of got worked up about that. Let's go ahead and talk about this match a little bit here. We'll go through the starting lineup, which was actually a little bit of a stronger lineup than I maybe anticipated, being that this match, of course, didn't really mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. But again, good to go out with a bang and just put a nice cherry on top of this pie, which was a very good Bundesliga season. Manuel Neuer got the start in between the sticks. I think the team is trying to work him back up, get him some match play. Obviously, he was injured for a while, but get him ready for the Club World Cup, which is coming up in about a month here. Rafa Guerreiro was the left back, Josip Stanisic and Eric Dyer were the center backs, and Konrad Laimer was the right back. Good performances all around from the back line, I thought. Good to get Kim Min-jae some rest, obviously dealing with that Achilles tendonitis issue for so long. It's good to get him rest in these matches and get some other guys run at center back. Eric Dyer, you will be so missed by me especially, and by most of the Bayern Munich fan base, I think, for the solid performances you've put in over these, year and a half that you've been with the team. But yeah, Dyer going to AS Monaco after, this season. Potentially, Bayern wants to keep him around for the Club World Cup. We'll see what happens there. Lots of transfer news with center backs in Bayern Munich right now. Jonathan Tah potentially going to Bayern. If you remembered, nothing's set in stone yet, but that's the way I would say things appear to be trending. But I'll give you a little more info on the Jonathan Tah situation. Leverkusen center back, German international, just a solid player. I'm not the biggest Tah fan, but he's kind of a guy who I think has a pretty high floor, but a ceiling that is I think he's kind of reached. Jonathan Tah last year wanted to leave Leverkusen, had an agreement in place with Bayern Munich, and then Bayern's supervisory board came down at the last second and said, no, this deal's 5 million euros, too expensive, so we're not going to accept it. And Bayern's actual board of sporting directors, Eberl and Freund, kind of had to put their tail in between their legs and go back to Tah and say, sorry, the deal that we thought, we told you we had actually isn't getting approved. So that kind of rubbed Tah the wrong way, and he had to go back to Leverkusen and play this season out. And it sounded like he was essentially wanting to make the move over to Barca, but Barcelona with their registration problems, they couldn't register Dani Olmo this year forever, and even though Hansi Flick wants Jonathan Tah, it's not something that he can guarantee that he'll even be registered. So I think that's why it's looking like Tah could come to Bayern this summer on a transfer. That being said, Upamecano is in contract talks to extend his contract. Bayern, I think, is going to have to kind of pay up for him because they paid so much for guys like Davies, Musiala, Kimmich. I think Tah's going to want more money, so there's still, I think Upamecano is going to want more money. So there's still talks going on there. And then Kim Min-jae is... Latest reports are that if a good enough offer comes in, Bayern will be willing to sell him, that they've been disappointed in his performances over the last 2 seasons, which he definitely has not lived up to his potential, that's for sure. I think he's struggling to adjust to the pace of the Bundesliga. He makes a lot of mental mistakes in big moments, positioning errors, but I will give the guy credit for fighting like hell this season. I mean, he played probably over half the season with Achilles tendonitis. So the guy is a warrior, and he is mentally tough, and you can't say, you can't say that he's not a fighter. So I guess back to the lineup, right? A little bit of a detour, but there's so many transfer news. There's so much transfer news, and there's so much stuff going on that I had to provide an update there, especially with Bayern center backs. So that's how things are looking there. But on to the midfield, Pavlovic and Kimmich. I would have given Kimmich some rest personally in a match that does not matter. But Kimmich is just a guy who will never accept a spot on the bench. Basically, it seems like he's in every coach's ear demanding to start. So Kimmich got the start there. Would have liked to see Palhinha get some run in a match. Again, that doesn't matter. But it was good to see Pavlovic there. And both Kimmich and Pavlovic had solid games. I thought Kimmich was definitely the better of the two, really pulling the strings in the midfield like he does. I thought it was a really, really good match from Kimmich. The attacking setup was Kingsley Coman on the left wing. Serge Gnabry, I think, was technically at the 10, and Michael Olise was the right wing, and Thomas Muller was the 9. Gnabry and Muller were pretty much interchanging the entire match. It was really just a front four with these 4 guys, kind of like leading the charge at the top, pressing. Coman was clearly on the left side. Olise was clearly on the right side, but Muller and Gnabry were just basically fluid. Coman, I didn't think had a great game again, just kind of missed some crosses, missed some finishes. I thought Gnabry had a pretty good game. I thought Olise had a great game. Olise was probably the man of the match. Spoiler alert, maybe if I forget about match awards again, I'll try to remember that. But Olise was just absolutely on fire today, and really one of Bayern Munich's best players all year. I think that would go to either Kane, Olise, or Kimmich. But hey, stick around and maybe watch that final Bayern Munich season review, and maybe I'll give some match awards there. Muller, I thought, was very, very creative, but again, similar to last week, just couldn't get anything in the net, couldn't get any assists, but he was contributing very well to the attack and was really the most creative attacker, I guess, outside of Michael Olise, I thought, on the day. So that's kind of how Bayern Munich lined up. The match actually started off very boring for the first 30 minutes or so. Bayern looked sluggish. Really only Muller and Olise were being creative in the attack. It was really one of those matches again where when Kane's on the bench, I guess I didn't even talk about that, right? But Kane still hung over from these trophy celebrations, I guess. Hey, let the guy live, right? He deserved this trophy and he got it, so let him celebrate, let him live it up. But Kompany came out and said Kane was not doing so hot in practice this week, so code words, I guess, and not even really covering up the fact that Kane was just partying all week and probably hungover. But Kane, actually, we'll talk about it, comes in the 60th minute, scores and assists. So still a crazy impact for a hungover guy playing 30 minutes. But so really the match started, and it was clear to me that Hoffenheim wasn't really going to try to score. Their season essentially was over 2. If they would have gotten completely crushed and Heidenheim would have completely crushed Werder Bremen, then Hoffenheim could have slid down into that 16th relegation play-in spot, but it wasn't going to happen. Heidenheim got crushed by Bremen. Actually, it might have been 3-1 at the end, but they weren't really in that match at all, and Hoffenheim, I think, knew that. And it just seemed like Hoffenheim's plan was to maybe get a 0-0 draw, but let's be honest, that wasn't really going to happen either. But Hoffenheim was not looking to score. I'll just put it that way. But like I said, Bayern's attack in the beginning was not great. Kane is just so influential in the build-up, in obviously the finishing. People would put crosses into the box, and it would be like Kingsley Coman would be there, but he's not somebody who's going to finish it, obviously like Kane would. So, it started off and the attack wasn't really on the same page. They were just looking for moments of individual brilliance, I think, and that did come in the 33rd minute with Michael Olise's groundbreaking goal. Really opened up the match. It was a free kick, which I've seen Olise take these in practice 1,000 times, where he just bends a free kick around the wall, really, in such an incredible way, and he did it in a match. He has done it in matches before too, but it's one thing to do it on the training grounds, and it's one thing to actually do it in a match, but he just bent this free kick perfectly right past the grasp of Oliver Baumann, Hoffenheim's keeper, into the side of the net. It was so pretty. If you want to watch, I guess, highlights, or if you want to watch a moment from this match, take a look at that, because that ball was so pretty. But yeah, then we, I guess, went into halftime. I think we went into halftime 1-0. I should probably check when that second goal happened. But yeah, so head into halftime 1-0, and really, you don't feel any sort of a threat. I didn't feel like Hoffenheim was providing any sort of a threat, but if there were any questions or any doubts in your mind, those were sealed in the 53rd minute when Joshua Kimmich doubled the lead with a goal. Michael Olise, again, providing the assist for that one, finds Kimmich with a little bit of space in the box, and Kimmich just puts a shot right on target. I think it maybe took a deflection, or it maybe went off the keeper or something. It was kind of tough to see with the angle that it was at. But Kimmich just in the midst of the action, like he always is, and getting rewarded for it with a goal there. So at that point, yeah, it's 2-0. You can pretty much close the book on this one. Thomas Muller comes off in the 60th minute, like I mentioned. Kane comes on. Leroy Sane also comes on there, and Kingsley Coman comes off there in that 60th minute. But Muller just gets a standing ovation from the away fans, from Hoffenheim's really entire stadium. Obviously the Bayern Munich fans that were there were going nuts, and Muller stepped off the pitch for his final Bundesliga game. Steps off the pitch for his final time in his Bundesliga career. And I talked a lot about Muller last week, so if you want to know more about, I guess, my feelings on the man, his kit's hanging right back there, if that gives you a hint. But if you want to, more of a longer, I guess, explanation on Thomas Muller, not much, I can say about him that hasn't already been said. Truly one of the greatest in the game, truly a legend of the game. There is nobody like Thomas Muller. Nobody scores the goals Thomas Muller has scored and will ever score. I don't think there will ever be a player with as high of a footballing IQ as Thomas Muller. It's really, really mind-blowing. And these goals that he scores that almost look like accidents, he's stumbling around, they're all calculated. They're all completely calculated. And if you want to aspire to be somebody, it should be Thomas Muller. So go ahead and maybe have a beer for me have a beer for Thomas Muller, I guess. I almost said on me, like I'm gonna pay for it or something. I guess not, but pour one out for Thomas Muller, and there will be more to come. He is still playing with Bayern Munich in the Club World Cup. Jim and I will be traveling to Cincinnati to see him in person, so that's going to be sweet. And we'll keep you updated about his future if he decides to go somewhere else, maybe MLS, if he decides to hang it up and just ride his horses in Munich for the rest of his life. I don't know. But Thomas Muller, I think he still has some gas left in the tank, so we'll see. But really cool to see the ovation he got, and incredibly deserved. In the 67th minute, Kompany went to his bench again. We see Sacha Boey and Leon Goretzka come on, Konrad Laimer and Rafa Guerreiro come off. Really, I don't know if I talked about it that much, but the Laimer-Olise connection, it was something special. And I can see why Kompany likes Laimer at right back. That maybe puts us in a little bit of a predicament because we have Josip Stanisic, who's a great player, deserved starter in my opinion, who's a natural right back, and then you have Konrad Laimer, who's been playing right back but is a natural midfielder. So Kompany has some things to figure out for next season. There's enough injuries on the back line where I have a feeling a versatile guy like Stanisic, you're going to maybe play him at left back. You're going to maybe play him at center back. So who really knows? But, we'll see what happens there next season because you're also bringing in Hoffenheim's very own Tom Bischoff, who, was not super impactful today. Nobody on Hoffenheim was, but it was nice to see him out there. Tom Bischoff coming into Bayern Munich next year. He's also kind of a versatile guy, mostly playing the 8 there in the midfield, but he can kind of play attacking midfield like a number 10. He could maybe play a wing if you needed him to. So, Bayern's midfield next year is going to be pretty crowded unless they sell somebody like Goretzka or somebody like Polina even. Their midfield is going to be pretty crowded, so we'll see what happens there. It might force Laimer into that right back spot again, but Tom Bischoff, it was nice to see him today, and it was kind of a emotional moment for him too, coming off for the last time for Hoffenheim. He was in tears on the bench, and it was I guess nice to see how much it means to him. I'm excited to see him on Bayern Munich next year, that's for sure. But we finally got the third goal of the match in the 80th minute. Serge Gnabry scored, assisted by Harry Kane. Like I said, Kane comes on hungover in the 60th minute and provides a goal and assist. So again, that just shows you what kind of a player Harry Kane is, that he can do something like that. Actually, Leroy Sane started this play off. Really a nice run by Sane, finds Kane, who whips a shot that just hits the post, but actually bounces back to Kane. So Kane gets that rebound off the post and slots it through to Gnabry, who, he cooks. Gnabry just cooks, and he scores that goal to really cap off what I thought was a pretty nice match from Gnabry, actually against his former club. I forgot. I was wondering why Serge wasn't doing his trademark chef cooking celebration, but it's because he actually was on Hoffenheim maybe in like 2018 or something. I'll probably have to fact check that, but I think it was something like that. So and then not too much after that, we see in the 86th minute Harry Kane gets his own goal. Just a beautiful finish in the box from Kane, top bins, really unsavable. Kane doing what Kane does best, his 26th goal of this Bundesliga campaign, and he was injured for a number of matches, so I don't know how many he played, maybe 29 or something like that. I'd have to look that up, but Sacha Boey gets the assist there. And the only other action that happened was the 87th minute. Gabriel Vidovic came on and Eric Dyer came off. So, just a really nice match from Bayern to end the season. 4-0 against Hoffenheim. Leroy Sane actually had a really good shot to make it a 5th goal, which would have been Bayern's 100th goal of the Bundesliga season, actually. So they ended up with 99, which I think the announcers were saying they've only scored 100 goals maybe 1 or 2 other times, so that would have been something really special. But you look at all these stats, Bayern has 82 points. They got that. I think they had 82 in the treble-winning season, 2019-2020. And then before that, I think they had 88 points. I was looking at this, or 84 points. I was looking at this the other day, maybe in like 14-15 or 15-16 or something. So it's not like all that often that Bayern has 82 points. So again, and if you look at the amount of goals they scored, 99, their goal differential was like plus 67 or something. I don't know. It was some crazy differential like that where they scored so many goals and hardly conceded any in the league. So again, if you look at it, only 2 losses in the league, that one against Bochum, which shouldn't have happened, a BS red card on Polina. And then the loss in the first half of the season against Mainz. Maybe they had one too many draws where you would have liked to see them win some of those games, but overall a really solid season for Vincent Kompany in his first year. And a couple other things to mention. Leroy Sane, contract talks. Man, it's not looking like Leroy Sane is going to be back with Bayern Munich next year. We'll have to see how this shapes up. But yeah, he had a deal pretty much inked, and then he changed his agent at the 11th hour, an agent who's known for getting guys out of Dodge. So it sounds like Bayern is not going to improve their offer, which, if they think they're going to get Florian Wirtz, they probably shouldn't improve their offer for Sane. So, I've said this many times before. I think Sane is a step above Coman and Gnabry right now, so I'd like to keep him. But, you have Michael Olise. If Florian Wirtz doesn't come to Munich, you're going to need to sign another winger. If Wirtz doesn't come and Sane leaves, you're definitely going to need to sign another winger. But if Wirtz comes over, then I can stomach losing a guy like Sane because your main attacking foursome will be Kane, Musiala, Olise, and Wirtz. Speaking of Wirtz, I did a little short about him not too long ago because there's conflicting reports about the man every day. I'm not a betting man. I laid that out. If I was, I would say it's trending towards Wirtz ending up in Munich, but there's so many situations that could happen. I think he's leaving Leverkusen at this point. I'd be pretty surprised if he inked up a new deal now after all this back and forth and meeting with other teams. But he's I should say his father, his agent, as well as his mother and maybe some other people who are representing him, traveled to England to meet with Liverpool and Manchester City officials. So we'll see. There's a chance he could go to Real Madrid as well, with Xabi Alonso going to Madrid, but I would say that's maybe a little bit less likely at this point. But really just stick with us here at the Always Bayern Chelsea show, because I'll give you updates on all this stuff as it goes. I would say don't believe any of the reports you're seeing right now, because so many reporters will come out one day and say something and then the next day say the exact opposite. So it's some sort of messed up journalism. It's not real. I would say just wait and see. Don't get yourself worked up about all these conflicting reports. That's my advice on that. But yeah, I guess the other thing to mention, I think I maybe said it before, but Kane ends up with 26 goals this season. He has something like maybe 68 goals in 69 Bundesliga games or something, and then you add, I don't know how many assists, 15 assists or so. I think he had 8 assists this season alone in the Bundesliga. So Kane is just doing what Kane does. There's really no other way to say it. The guy is, I think, the best player in the league. I actually think Olise is making a strong case for that crown as well. But we'll get to more total breakdowns in that full-length season recap episode I keep talking about, so I better make it really good. But I think that's pretty much going to wrap up my coverage for this game in particular. Again, I think it was a great first season in the league from Vincent Kompany. There's other areas that need to be cleaned up. I'd like to see him rotate better. I'd like to see him perform better in Europe against some of these tactical geniuses. But, for a first-year head coach who has a lot of growing and learning to do, about as good of a year as you could expect out of the guy. So now we wait and see what's going to be going down for the Club World Cup, who's going to be coming in, who's going to be going out. And I can tell you we'll provide some of the best coverage you'll see for that, because Jim and I will be there on June 15th in Cincinnati for the opener against Auckland City. That's Bayern Munich's next match, but there's a lot of stuff going on with Chelsea. They are one win away from securing Champions League, which would be so huge for them. And they also have that Conference League final to look forward to at the end of the month here. So many Bayern players are going off to international duty now. You got the Nations League Final Four, which you have all these German players in it, Kimmich captaining. That side, I think France is also alive in that, which would be Olise and Upamecano if he is healthy enough. And obviously Harry Kane is going to captain England. They have some matches coming up under old boy Tommy Tuchel, so we'll see how that goes. But really, yeah, just a sweet match for Bayern Munich to close things up here. And it was a fun one. Thank you for sticking with us all season. This isn't any sort of goodbye or any sort of really wrapping things up, because I keep saying we got more coming, so you should probably subscribe to this YouTube channel here. But seriously, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to these episodes. It does mean a lot to me. I will, send us off here with the everlasting Mia San Mia forever.